Okay. Hello, everybody. It's Jason Johnson again.
Hey, it's Marnie.
And we have a guest today, Madam Carmen. Will you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, I'm Carmen McCrae. I'm a school counselor as well.
But it's Madam Carmen today, right?
Today it's
Madam
Madam Carmen. Just because you guys have been talking about so much about the nostalgia of Sesame Street and the Brady Bunch, and I had to channel my favorite show, which was Mr. Dress Up.
Ah,
I'm dressed
Love
up.
it.
Can you
Mr.
guys guess
Dresser.
can you guess what I'm dressed up as?
Ooh, I feel like you're somebody that's like predicting maybe the future.
Like a fortune teller.
Look at my costume. Oh,
Oh, you
Fortune.
are.
and
You are.
good.
Your earrings.
Oh, yes.
Well, speaking of earrings, remember last week I was regulating myself by making earrings?
Yes.
Look at how far I've come.
Right on, Jason.
Jason,
Maybe
those
we'll be
are
done next week.
beautiful. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, they're coming out okay. They're coming out okay. So last week we talked about regulating ourselves when we're feeling kind of stressed and unregulated and just kind of overwhelmed. And so Carmen is going to share us a little bit about her learnings, I think, on that topic.
Well, I was so excited to come on your show, and then I get the text that I'm going to be recording at 1 o'clock, and all these feelings start coming to me. My body gets alerted that my heart starts pounding. I start kind of breathing heavy. My hands were sweaty. So I had to figure out, because I was so excited, I was scared and excited, but I had to figure out how I was going to self-regulate so I could be calm and enjoy this. So we're here today.
So what are some things that you did?
Well, like I said, channeling my Mr. Dress Up. My calming thing is, my distraction might be to have like a costume or like a backdrop, like you, Jason, having your wonderful backdrops. I like to use the costume, but I also use some techniques that you don't need any costume or you don't need any object. It's just in your body and how you can regulate yourself with just what you have on your body. So the first thing that I did was I took some deep breaths, but I also kind of had to sit down. I had to sit down and ground myself because I was really excited too. And I kind of sat down, just, got my feet flat on the floor, and I started taking 5 deep breaths. And the way I do that is I take my, oh, look at my costume jewelry, but I take my hand and I kind of breathe. You guys want to do that with me really quick?
Yeah, sure.
You grab your hand, you breathe in when you go up your thumb. So, and then exhale down. Up your index finger. Exhale down. So remember, if you take those 5 deep breaths, you always have your hand. So it's always with you. So that's something that helped me. But by keeping myself grounded and putting my feet flat on the floor, I love the way you guys are still doing that. It let me be in the present. And I'll get to why I'm dressed the way I am. I'm dressed.
I really like this. I really like this because you're touching yourself too.
I was gonna say, I like the tracing. I feel like in and of itself has a really, like that experience, that tactile experience is very
much like your sand you were talking about. It's
absolutely right. I agree.
And the more senses we can use stimulates our brain, so much more of our brain. And the more we stimulate in our brain, the more it kind of begins to calm down. So I really, really like that. That's great.
Well, it brings you into the moment, I would say. Like when you talk about that grounding, when you're actually like concentrating on your breath, concentrating on tracing, the outline of your hand, you become very much in the moment, as opposed to when we're talking about feeling anxious, how our thoughts are often racing. There's that physical response like you talked about as well. But when you're doing something that requires you to concentrate on the right now, it really has a calming effect.
And
awesome.
The fact that you guys had rocks yesterday and sand, you know, sometimes you're not going to have that in your back pocket, right? But you always have your hand, and that's why I use that. So you think of students at their desks, you think of us at our desks, our new normal of having our kitchen tables, like, you know, you can just use that hand and use that as a self-regulation tool, and it's always with you. So it's kind of a
what about like using the hand, like if you use the hand on a piece of paper and you were doing your breath as you were tracing your hand, that could be something that you could do, right? And then you could, you know, color your hand after or doodle your hand. That could be something.
So why are you dressed up? Why did you channel Mr. Dress Up and decide you're going to dress up?
Well, for me, and you know, I know there's some other people that do this too, is sometimes during those times of stress where our body's alerted, we kind of tend to fortune tell. We become, you know, mind readers, or we try to predict the future. And that's when sometimes, you know, you'll get a little bit more elevated, and we want to keep you calm. So we want to get you out of that state of elevation. And for me, just the breathing and the grounding helps me to calm myself, where I'm not thinking other thoughts and, you know, thinking the worst case scenario. Like for me coming on today, you know, I could have went to the place where, oh, what if I, you know, pass out on live TV, or what if I, you know, get sick, you know, all these things that go through my head that I'm predicting. But if I just stick to, you know, keeping myself calm and grounded, that's when I can push through these times where I feel alerted and I feel scared.
And I think like right now, given sort of what's going on in our world, we have a tendency to, you know, be really stressed and worried about what's next because there's so much unpredictability, right? So maybe we're trying to get control of some aspect of something, but, you know, our thoughts can be racing, but we can control what we think, right? We talked about this yesterday as well. So being able to ground ourselves and calm ourselves and, you know, get in control of our thoughts and be aware of what's happening physically to us or in our environment, to be able to sort of focus ourselves to the here and now, as opposed to jumping ahead of trying to think of all the possibilities.
And that's so true. Jason, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it sounds like I kind of speechless, believe it or not.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Marnie. I know through these times, what has helped me with the unpredictability. Oh, you guys mentioned the other day about the writing and writing letters. I just have to touch base on that. You can still write letters and still write, and then you can phone the person and talk about what you wrote in the letter.
Oh yeah,
that's a good idea.
Because writing is a really great way to calm yourself. And when you do have those thoughts or those negative thoughts, to write those down. And then you can kind of like compare and contrast, like, oh, is this really going to happen? Could this really happen? Or what can I do to just be in the now and be in the present? You know, so kind of the pros and cons of what I'm thinking, and write it down. And then even if you have something to say to somebody, being able to write that down, and then still calling them, even though we can't send it, and go out and get a stamp when we're not supposed to go out because we're social distancing, which leads to next.
I think Madam Carmen has lots of good ideas, doesn't she, Marnie?
Does she really? Does.
Invite her back again to have some more conversations with us. Maybe by my future.
Well,
can I see your crystal ball? Oh, I wanted to see your crystal ball.
Well, I was going to tell you, my crystal ball started to kind of blow up here. And I wanted you to see if you can see the message there. Can you see what that says? Oh.
Keep calm and social distance.
On.
Yes.
Yes. You have to keep doing
calm
it.
And social distance on.
It's still blowing up. It's still blowing
up. What else? There's other messages coming.
I see another one.
Keep calm and Marnie and Jason on. There you go.
That's right, everybody. Keep stay tuned.
Take care. Thanks, Madam Carmen. Talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.